the end of the year is almost upon us. So it is high time I looked back at the last year and what I've read and which novels, graphic novels and such I found the best that I read last year. Hi, I'm Annie, and this list is divided in two pre-2000 novels, one novel that was published, one modern novel that was published after 2000, best non-fiction and best short story and best graphic novel. I'll link all of the full reviews I did of these in the description box below. Let's start with the best pre-2000 novels I've read in last year. And that is, why are there two, you might wonder? Well, it's because I couldn't choose, as one has a more manly theme and one has a real feminist theme to it. So that's why there are two. So Michael K. Vaughan's Garbogus host recommendation was Rage by Richard Bachman. And Richard Bachman was none other than Stephen King himself. He wrote these novels under the name Richard Bachman. And I found this just an excellent novel. I have never read anything by Stephen King, but I don't know if these are. I guess the novels he wrote under the name Richard Bachman are different, but I don't know. I don't know if this is the case. It's probably what I am guessing. So maybe I'll read some Stephen King next year to see what I liked best. If I like his Richard Bachman novels better than his Stephen King novels, I don't know. But this story is about this student, and he takes his classmates hostage, and he shoots his teacher. And this story is told from the perspective of this, teenage boy, you can say, this young adolescent boy, and why he does this. But it is also some sort of search, because he himself doesn't know the real reason why he does this. And he discusses, he has conversations with his classmates, and he tells things, and his classmates, they tell things about themselves, and you have this mini society, and slowly he tries to find out why is he doing this absolutely violent act. And it's all, you see only one point of view, thus you see only inside, you are as a reader inside the classroom, and you see the perspective of within the classroom, this mini society. And I found this really, really interesting, as we get to see, as we get to take a look in this teenage brain. And, I can highly recommend Rage. It isn't as chunky as Stephen King's, the novels Stephen King wrote under his own name. So it is a reasonably quick read, and it is absolutely, I found it really interesting and really great. I also like the writing style very, very much. So I can highly recommend it. For the last Garbogus week, I've read The Lies and Loves of a She-Devil by Faye Weldon. And the prompt was a book, a novel that was turned into a miniseries. And the story is about Ruth, and Ruth is married to Bobo, and Bobo has this affair with Mary Fisher, who is the superficial romance writer. And Ruth will go to any length. She will go really far to get Bobo back. And it is a feminist kind of story, but Faye Weldon doesn't take it too seriously, so it's not a heavy drama or something. It has a lot of humor in it, which I enjoyed very much, and a lot of dark satire in it as well, and I'm all for that. If you like dark satire, then I can highly recommend it. And it is also a sort of social commentary of how women were treated in general by men and by employers, and well, how where women stood in society. So it is a social commentary as well. So I found it really great. And in this novel was, I don't know when this novel, I think it was in the early 1980s that this novel was published. And in 1986 there was a BBC TV adaptation of it, which was a mini-series. And this follows the novel quite closely. I think the essence of the novel is captured quite well, and a lot of dark satire remains in the miniseries, although the commentary on religion and the church, well, that didn't make it in the series. But I think the series was reasonably well adapted, better than the Hollywood film that was made of this novel. It's called She-Devil, and it was made in 1989, and it starred Meryl Streep and Roseanne Barr. I do love Meryl Streep. I do recognize her talent, and she really does her best to make this film into a success. But even she can't save this abomination. She can't, no, I can't say anything positive of it. The core message of the novel, well, is entirely different in this adaptation. It really sends another message than the novel has. The subtle dark humor that's in the novel and in the BBC adaptation, well, the humor is, I don't know what's called in English, but it's flattened out. It's really turned into this cheap comedy. No, I can't recommend it. But I can highly recommend the novel by Faye Weldon. And if you can get a hold of the BBC miniseries, I can also highly recommend you watch that one. Best modern novel. Well, that's a real fun one. And that's a trans wizard, Harriet Porber, and the bad boy, Parasaurolophus. Well, that's a real tongue twister for you. Well, that's some sort of dinosaur, human kind of character, if you are wondering. And this really fun, light-hearted novel is written by Chuck Tingle. And Chuck Tingle is vastly becoming my favorite modern writer. He wrote a lot of LGBTQ plus AI, excuse the order of the letters, Well, you know what I mean. He wrote a lot of novels with gay characters in them, these characters in them. And it isn't a drama. It's fun. I found this really lighthearted. So this story is, as the title suggests, about a transsexual wizard, Harriet Porber, and she writes spells for a living. But she has this writer's block, so she goes off to an island in the UK and to get not only inspiration, but so she's not distracted and she can concentrate on writing spells which she can sell. And on this island there is this bad boy dinosaur rock star. And, well, it's a love story, so they fall in love. Normally, I don't gravitate towards love stories, but this was really, really entertaining. I found it really entertaining. It was lighthearted. And there are these motorcycle girls, and you have to take that literally. These are not girls on motorcycles. These are really motorcycle girls. So these are living motorcycles, female living motorcycles, and they don't appreciate. These are friends of this bad boy dinosaur, and they are not appreciating this budding, this love, that their rock star is some sort of being, well, stolen, not really, but that he is enamored by trans wizard Harriet Porber. And it is really lighthearted. It is really, really, really fun. But it is some sort of trashy, as it seems to be a bit of exploitative, but it isn't that. The writing style is actually quite good. Well, I'm all for this LGBTQIA EI plus representation in fiction. So I can highly recommend it. Tingle's storytelling technique is just excellent. I like his writing style very much. So yeah, I can highly recommend it if you want a fun, lighthearted read. Best graphic novel, The Knights of Heliopolis, which is written by Alejandro Jodorowsky and has illustrations by Jérémy Petiqueux. And originally it is published in 4 volumes, but you can also get the integral version. I don't know if it's in English, published also in 1 volume, but you can get the 4 volumes in English as well. And I can highly recommend it. The story is about this secret order of knights, the Knights of Heliopolis. And these knights are immortal, and they train this student, which is just called number 17. He's just called number 17. And number 17 is none other than the secret son of Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette. And the question is he completing his training, and is he going to join this secret order, the Knight of Heliopolis, and stay in the shadows, or is he going to demand his position on the throne as the legal heir to the throne. I found this just excellent. As this story is set in the 18th century, I think. Yes, the 18th century, and but the story feels really modern, and this is not surprising as it is recently published. This graphic novel, Jodorowsky was really an old man when he wrote this story. But with Jodorowsky, you can't always guess what to expect from him. It's always some sort of surprise, and I find it often a real satisfying surprise. So this is really a modern story, although it's set in the 18th century. So I can highly recommend The Knights of Heliopolis. Best non-fiction women filmmakers in early Hollywood by Karen Ward Mahar. If you think women in Hollywood are outnumbered, I guess you would probably be right. But Karen Ward Mahar tells a different story. This wasn't always the case, because in the silent film industry, before sound came in vogue, there were a lot of women who played an important part in the film industry and in film as an art form, in all kinds of jobs. They were very well represented. And Karen Ward Mahar writes about these fabulous women who have been completely ignored. Most of them are completely ignored by film historians. So I can highly recommend it. So you may ask, why did all these women disappear? Well, there are a number of reasons, but the most important reason is that when film started to become an industry, so when it started in the late 1800s, early 1900s, it was still seen as an art form and some sort of, you went to see things at what is called carnival or something. It was a novelty and it was an art form. So it wasn't seen as an industry, you can say. But later on, when film productions, when there was more money involved in film productions, and important business people started to invest more and more money into film productions, and Wall Street took an interest in the film industry. Well, you can't have women when there's a lot of money involved in a production. Now, can you? So they gradually got rid of all of the women in important jobs when you make films. So important. Women weren't. There were a lot of women who produced films, were film producers, and they couldn't get the investments they needed because they were women, so they gradually disappeared. And then you had female directors. Well, they gradually disappeared as investors on Wall Street. They found this was too important job to be left to the women. Oh. And then you had the editors, when they found out that the editing technique, that editing was a real skill that could make or break a film, or could send the story of the film in one direction or another direction. Well, you can't have women deciding on it. Before Wall Street took an interest and big investors took an interest, they saw editing as some sort of, how can I compare it, home sewing, knitting. It was compared to knitting or sewing, or well, it was just seen as copying and pasting, so as more as manual labor than as an art form. So when they found out that an entire message could be changed by changing the order of the scenes, and this could influence, break or make the success of a film, well, you couldn't have women in that decision. So men took over that job. Well, I can highly recommend these women. They were too long ignored by film historians. I find anyway. So I consider myself to be quite knowledgeable about women in early film, in early film, but I only knew the most well-known women in the film industry, like, for example, well, everybody knows Mary Pickford, Louise Weber, Mabel Normand. Yeah, you can see I'm having trouble remembering. And you had Alice Guy Blanchet, although she was from French, originally from France. Then you had, of course, Frances Marion, who was an important script writer, and Anita Luce was also an important script writer. But writing was another thing. Although I think comparing to other jobs in the film industry, the women who remained longest in important positions in the film industry, those were the writers. But yeah, gradually they also disappeared. And I think Ida Lupino was one of the few female film directors, who survived the coming of sound. She had in early sound, I don't know exactly how long, but she was, I think, the only woman in Hollywood who was who had a successful directing career throughout her career. I think even throughout the 1950s. But there were many more, as it was in the theater world, and on Broadway and the stage. It was quite common for women to run the business, to make their own productions. So that's why it was a logical step when film was introduced, that women would also take that position of producing films. But like I said, money, Wall Street, and women And men, of course. Well, luckily we have Karen Ward Mahar to straighten things out. And finally, we have the best short story. I won't go into much detail about it, but I found My Favorite Murder by Ambrose, Bierce, the best short story I have read, and it was my Garbogus host recommendation. So this story is about this man who stands trial for murder. It's very violent, but never in a gory way. It's really funny violence. I don't like to call violence funny, but it is. The story is told with a humorous twist to it. So the violent situations are comical, if you will. So I can highly recommend My Favorite Murder. It's free and available on Project Gutenberg if you want to read a funny story. It was my Garbogus host recommendation, by the way. So that was it. The best stories I have read in 2024. And this is also the last video I will be posting this year. So have a good end of the year. And if you are living in a country where you set off fireworks and firecrackers, well, be careful with that and enjoy your New Year's Eve and have a good beginning of the new year. And I hope to see you next year in another video.